Hi, and welcome back to this week's Parsha Shir on Sefer or Gedalyahu. This week we'll begin reading Sefer Bamidbar, a new Sefer in the Torah, a new Sefer of Chumash. And as many of you probably know, this Sefer of Chumash is known by Chazal, the Mishnah Menachos, and elsewhere as Chumash Pekudim, as the book of the counted ones, or in Hebrew, in English, that's why it's called the book of numbers, the book of numbers of people which are counted. And of course, the reason why the Sefer gets its name is because there are two major censuses taken in Sefer Bamidbar. One in the beginning of the Sefer, which we learn about in the opening lines of our Parsha. Vaydaber Hashem Moshe b'Midbar Sinai b'Ohel Moed. God speaks to Moshe Rabbeinu in the midst of Midbar Sinai, from the Ohel Moed, after Matan Torah, after the construction of the Mishkan, be'echad lachodesh hasheni, the first day, Rosh Chodesh, of the second month, which is Iyar, b'shana hasheni sotzeisam be'eretz Mitzrayim lemor, the second year after their departure from Egypt, on the first of the second month of the Rosh Chodesh Iyar, Moshe Rabbeinu was given the following command: Seuet Rosh Kol Adas Bnei Yisrael Mishpachosam Lebeis Avosam Bemispar Shemos Kol Zachar Legulgalosam. You should raise the heads of the Jewish people. That's the way the Torah describes the count, raising the heads of the Jewish people according to their families, according to their fathers' homes, according to the number of their names, every male, etc., according to his head. That's how the count is supposed to be taken. That's the first count of the Sefer. And then, of course, in Parshas Pinchas, we learn about the second count, the second census which is taken, and there are reasons for each, as Rashi explains, that the Hashem likes to count the Jewish people, mitochi basam and na'an b'kol sha'ah, because of his love for the Jewish people. He counts them over and over at every particular moment, every moment of importance, either a moment where they're ascending in some way, and therefore he wants to count them, or at a moment of tragedy, after a plague happens, after a number of Jews are lost, such as after Chet HaEgel and Sefer Shmos, and later we'll see in Parshas Pinchas as well. They're counted to see who remains there after the devastation is over. That's the reason for counts. Two counts in Sefer Bamidbar give it its name, Chumash Pekudim. The Or Gedalyahu addresses himself to this question of why it's known as Chumash Pekudim. And he says it has to be more than just a description of what occurs in the Sefer. If it's given the name Chumash Pekudim, it must be that there is a meaning and a lesson and a depth to the notion of being counted, which is the essence of this Sefer and the essence of what was happening to Bnei Yisrael in this moment in their history. It can't just be a description of events. He says, "Umi mimashma shekaru Chazal Shema Sefer Pekudim." It seems to me, he says, from the fact that they called it Chumash Pekudim, of the counted ones, it must be that the essential content of this book has something to do with the notion of being counted and its importance. The counting can't just be in order to know the number of Jews that existed at this period of their history. So he explains the notion of pekudim, of being counted. Where does this word come from? Where does this notion come from? Haloshon pekudim, mashma kmo vayafked hamelach pekidim. You look elsewhere in Tanakh, the way the word vayifkod or pekidim is used, he says we can understand what it means here as well in terms of being counted. So one of the famous examples, of course, in Megillas Esther, where the pasuk says vayafked hamelech pekidim, that the king appointed pekidim. What is a pakid? Actually, even in Israel, in modern Hebrew today, what is a pakid? A pakid is a clerk. It's a person with a job. It's a person with a certain responsibility. And of course, it's related to the word tafkid, same root, pakad. A tafkid means a role that you play. So vayafkid hamelech pekidim is that the king implemented clerks or people with a tafkid, people with a role and a responsibility. Shekol echad ve'echad nimna shenimna nifkad al mekomo. What does it mean that the word to count in Hebrew is related to pakid, which is related to pakad, which is related to tafkid? It means that when a person is counted, they are given a designated role. Nifkad al mekomo. They are designated for that time, for that space, for that role that they are to take. It's therefore evident why the pasuk delineates that they are counted according to different roles. They are counted lebeis avosam, to the heads of households, ulamin in hashevet, and the number in terms of their tribe, ve'od nimnu leminin hadegel, and they're counted according to their flag, v'gam nimnu kechelek miklal Yisrael, and they're counted as part of the whole Jewish people. All these various levels of counting, which are described in many different psukim in Bamidbar and elsewhere, means that they're counted according to the different roles that they play. The role that they play in their family, the role that they play in the Shevet, the role that they play in the Degel, the role that they play in the totality of Klal Yisrael. Echad mishishim ribo, as one of the 600,000, one of the Jewish people. Shekol minyan v'minyan miyuchad hu, shahayachid yesh lo makom v'tafkid ki'ish, lebeis avosav. Ushaychus miyuchad ki'ish l'shivto, v'tafkid miyuchad le'ish al diglo. V'chein yesh lo makom betoch klal Yisrael ki'ish miyuchad betafkid miyuchad echad b'shishim ribu. Every level that's counted means the person has a role and a responsibility and an essential place within that sphere, within the sphere of Beis Avosam, within the sphere of the Shevet, within the sphere of the people, within the sphere of the nation as a whole. So pikudim means more than just numbers. It means roles to play as individuals. He says further, there's another meaning to the word Pekidim or Pekudim as well. Va'ayin baramban, he says, look at the Ramban here in a number of places in Parshas Bamidbar. Shekasav inyan Pekida, who writes that the idea of Pekida, being counted, is Zicharon v'hashkacha al hadavar, to remember and to be watched over this thing. Where do we find a reference to that elsewhere in Tanakh? Of course, the famous pasuk where Hashem says, where the Torah says, "V'Hashem pakad et Sarah." Hashem was pakad Sarah ka'asher amar, just as He had spoken. He gives her a child, just as He had promised. What does it mean, pakad et Sarah? It doesn't mean she was counted. It doesn't mean she was given a role. In this case, it means she was remembered. She was watched. God watched over all this time, and He gave her that which He had promised. So the first meaning of Pekudim is given roles. The second meaning of Pekudim is being watched or supervised or protected or remembered in some way. The Ramban continues in a beautiful line. He says, Ve'od, ki haba lifnei av hanavim ve'achiv kadosh Hashem. When a person comes before the head of all Nevi'im, meaning Moshe Rabbeinu, and his brother, the Holy One, meaning Aaron, person comes before Moshe and Aaron to be counted, who noda aleim bishmo, and the person presents themselves by name to Moshe and Aaron, iyelo b'davar hazeh zechus v'chaim. The person gets merit and life from that personal encounter with Moshe and Aaron as they're recognized by name. Ki ba b'sod ha'am u'b'schus harabim v'misparam. Because when they present themselves by name as individuals in front of Moshe and Aaron, they become automatically subsumed into the secret of the nation, into the merit of the nation, into the merit in numbers. V'chein lechulam zchut b'mispar sheyimnu lifnei Moshe v'Aaron, ki yasimu alehem einam letova yivakshu alehem rachamim. Because as they present themselves to Moshe and Aaron, they become subsumed into the collective. Moshe and Aaron will look out for them. Moshe and Aaron will watch out for them. Moshe and Aaron will pray for them. Moshe and Aaron will request compassion for them, because they become part of the collective that Moshe and Aaron are responsible for. They become watched over in some more significant way. He continues, what the Gedalyahu deduces from this Ramban, mashmaus hadavarim hu kmo shekatavnu. The words of the Ramban fit exactly into what we were saying, says the Gedalyahu. Sheyesh zchus miyuchedes b'ma shenifkedu toch harabim. There is a special merit to being counted in the collective. Ki ba b'sod ha'am u'zchus b'ma shenifkad b'toras yachid sheyasimu aleihem einehem letova. There's a special merit to being counted as an individual in the collective, so that you get the merits of the collective as well. You see here in this Gedalyahu a balance of two values as he explains the two different meanings of pekudim, of being counted. Number one, the merit of being counted is that you are given a role. You as an individual are singled out as something special, as something unique, as someone who has a role to play in various spheres as you are counted. Being counted means you're pointed to. You, and you in specific. And you, not like that one, and not like that one. You have a special number with a special place, with a special role to play. That's the meaning of being counted. That's the meaning of pekudim. But then there's another meaning where you're taken as an individual, the value you have in terms of presenting yourself and your name and your role and your station and your number before Moshe and Aaron is not that then you then get recognized as that individual, but that you become subsumed within the collective as well. There is a balance here that the Or Gedalyahu is pointing to in terms of the merit of the individual and the merit of the collective and the fusion and the cohesion between the two. Chumash Pekudim, the book of Pekudim, the book of numbers, the books of counting, of census, the depth of meaning to it is that the Jewish people were gaining merit as individuals and as a collective. And they were gaining the merits of the balance between the two, the best of both worlds, being recognized by HaKadosh Baruch Hu in terms of your own individual traits, and also being recognized by HaKadosh Baruch Hu as a member of the collective, with all the positive that entails. The positive from God, the positive from Moshe and Aaron, the positive being viewed and subsumed within the totality of what the Jewish people were accomplishing at any given moment. There's another hint to this, and that is pointed out by the Or Gedalyahu. Hinei Yadua Yisrael. It's very well known in Jewish tradition that the name Yisrael, the name of the Jewish people as a collective, Notrichon, is an acronym for Yesh Shishim Ribu Osios LaTorah. Yesh is Yud, Shishim is Shin, Ribo is Resh, Osios is Aleph, LaTorah is Lamed, spelling out Yisrael. Noting that every Jew who's a member of the Jewish people, who's a member of Israel, who gets that name Israel, is parallel to 600,000 letters in the Torah. Every Jew, it's known, has a corollary letter in the Torah. Hainu, the kol echad miYisrael yesh lo shoresh ba'os echad shel Torah. That every Jew has a root in a letter of the Torah. The chol os va'os yesh lo kedusha miyuchedes. And we believe that every letter in the Torah has its own place in the heavens, has its own source of kedusha, has its own uniqueness, highlighting the first facet of the count, meaning the individual and the importance of the individual and the special shoresh, the special root of the individual, which is unlike any other. Just like every single letter in the Torah, so too every single Jew has their own uniqueness, their own role, their own root in the heavens that is different than everybody else, that can never be replaced, that is totally their own and totally unique. But on the flip side, says the Or Gedalyahu, חוץ ממה שיש להעוז קדושה כחלק מהטבע ומהפסוק ומהפרשה ומכל התורה כולה. In addition to the special kedusha of every os of the Torah, of every letter in the Torah, which has its own individual root in the heavens, every letter in the Torah also gains additional kedusha because it's part of a word, which is part of a section, which is part of a parsha, which is part of the entire Torah. The letters of the Torah are holy, but they become more holy because they are subsumed within the entirety of the text of the Torah. The letters of the Torah symbolize the importance of individual and collective, and therefore are aligned with the count of the Jewish people, who also have merit as individuals and have merit as part of the collective. I believe that this is a very powerful notion to continue to ponder, a notion that comes up time and time again in the Torah in many different contexts, in many different places, as we balance our role as individuals and as members of the collective, remembering that we each have our own role to play. We each are pakid, we each are a clerk designated with a role in this world, and that's why the count is known as pekudim, the counted ones, the remembered ones, with a pakad, with a tafkid to play. But also that we are pekudim, we are counted in the sense of hashgacha, of being watched by the totality, because we are part of the totality of the Jewish people. And I think perhaps to bring it all together, I think when you think of the analogy of the letters of the Torah, it becomes very, very clear how we balance individual and collective. I think if you realize that every letter in the Torah is wholly on its own and has its own unique root, but you think about where that root is in the heavens. That root is, so to speak, subsumed within the realm of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You realize why we're connected as a collective and why we have uniqueness as individuals. We're all connected as a collective because we all emanate from the same place, from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, from the realm of Kedusha. But after we emanate from that common source, we all go in our own pathways to find our individual traits, to find our individual roots, to find our individual tafkidim, roles that we play in the world. And we can always gain merit from our individual pathways and our individual roles, and we can each shine in our own realms, but only if we remember that in the totality of things, we're all connected back to the same place. We're all part of that same Kedusha of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, even though our roots start to go in different directions as they emanate from that common Kedusha. So that if we each view ourselves as part of that collective and as individuals with a role to play in the world, we can get the best of both worlds, the merits of the individual and the merits of the collective, hopefully leading us to wonderful places. Shabbat Shalom.